The WHO has just published the E2025 report. Before we get into the details, talk to me about the progress that we're making so far in the fight against malaria and why this is so important.
So, this is an ancient disease. And less than 100 years ago, families everywhere, including North America and Europe, lived in fear of a mosquito bite. We think malaria has killed more humans than any other disease, and perhaps half of the people that have ever lived on this planet have died from malaria. So it is this huge problem that has been with us for millennia. There's been great progress over the first sort of decade and a half of this millennia, where we saw the burdens reducing significantly. But that progress has stalled. Even before COVID came along, that progress was stalling. And so what's got us to the point of that progress is not going to get us to the end point. Having said that, there is hope. Over the last 20 years, 20 countries have eliminated malaria. The UAE was the first country this century to be declared malaria-free in 2007. And this report from the WHO adds 8 more countries to a list of countries, 25 countries that should be able to eliminate malaria by 2025. So at one level, we've got a stalling of progress on the burden, but at another level, we've got these beacons of inspiration and hope that says actually elimination is possible. And so we want to eliminate in those countries, but we also want to learn the lessons and use that inspiration to drive the burden down elsewhere.
And Simon, the reason we wanted to talk to you is because eradicating malaria can have real-world economic consequences. Tell us what's behind the stall in progress that we've seen in the fight against malaria. Why are we seeing progress being halted here?
So it's pretty complex, and it's a combination of political will, consistent attention, having the necessary investments, understanding that, what's the expression? We need to be able to chew gum and walk at the same time. So we can't devote all our attention to a new threat and ignore an existing threat. But we also need some new tools. And if we are to eradicate malaria within a generation, the tools we have today are not going to get us there. And so we need investment in research and development. We need new innovations. There's a new vaccine out of the Jenner Institute that's going into phase 3 trials shortly. So, we're going to continually need to invest in those things. Look, also, as we see with COVID right now, we're seeing new variants crop up, and this is just sort of 15, 16 months into this new novel disease. But it illustrates the fact that we have to stay ahead of disease. If we stand still, we're going backwards. And so the parasites, and indeed the mosquitoes, are all developing resistance to the tools we have today. So we have to continue to stay ahead of the disease to push down that sort of burden. Now, I think we can certainly do it in these countries that we're signaling for elimination, but we're going to need a reinvestment and new tools in these countries with high burdens of disease.